America predicts war with China in 2025. China and America. These two big names have been having disputes for a long time now. Their relationship is a dynamic mix of economics, politics, and military power. As two of the world's most influential players, these two superpowers have a lot at stake in their interactions. Unfortunately, in recent years, tensions have increased due to several issues. If those were not enough, the COVID-19 pandemic only added fuel to the fire. But both sides pointed fingers at each other for the outbreak and its global spread, further straining an already complex relationship. It has come to this point that now a US general has predicted war with China in 2025. Why? Is the situation that much worse? Join us in this video as we dive into the complicated relationship between China and the United States. We will look over the disputes and critical areas of significant tension between China and America that have led to this prediction. Let's get started. China is well known for its trade. Almost everything is labeled made in China these days. It is a fact that trade is a major part of China's economy. Coincidentally, one of the main reasons for the conflict between China and America is trade. These two countries have been involved in a trade war ever since 2018. The reasons for these trade-related conflicts are many. First, the US has a big problem with buying more from China than it sells to China. In other words, America is insecure about it. This is called a trade deficit. China is also accused of stealing ideas and inventions from American companies, which they label as intellectual property theft. These issues have caused problems between the US and China. To try and fix these issues, the US and China tax each other's goods. The fancy word for these trade taxes is tariffs, which have made things worse between the two countries. The US accuses China of currency manipulation and thinks China cheats by making its money worth less so that its goods are cheaper. The US also thinks that China gives too much help to its own companies in the form of subsidiaries, which is also unfair according to the US. Finally, the US does not like that China makes it difficult for American companies to sell things in China, making market access difficult. These two countries made a deal to try and fix some of these issues, but it has not worked very well. No matter what deal they go for, one or the other end up having more issues. The trade war between China and America has also had a significant impact on the global economy, particularly in the manufacturing industry. China's ability to produce goods at a low cost has made it a preferred manufacturing hub for many countries around the world. But the trade war has disrupted global supply chains. Many companies have moved their production lines to other countries to avoid the high tariffs imposed on Chinese goods. This has led to a shift in the global manufacturing landscape. It could have long-term effects on China's position as the world's manufacturing powerhouse. China and the United States have argued about control over territories in recent years. For example, China thinks they own almost all of the South China Sea, including all its islands and waters. The United States believes otherwise and has disagreed with China's claim, so it has sailed its ships through the area to show they can use it too. China also thinks Taiwan and Tibet are part of its land, so it is willing to use force to make Taiwan join it again. The United States intervened in this problem and promised to help Taiwan defend itself. After hearing that Tibet also wants to be independent of China's power, the US stands with Tibet in its moves, as it believes people from Tibet should have more rights. Of course, China disproves all of this. Other than this, China and Japan have been arguing over some small islands in the East China Sea. Even though these islands have been uninhabited since World War II, Japan calls them the Senkaku Islands, and China calls them the Diaoyu Islands. The United States has intervened here too, saying that it will protect Japan and its Senkaku Islands if China tries to seize them. These interventions by the US and conflicts involving China have built tension between these two countries. They both think the other is doing things that threaten their respective national interest and security. Humanitarian crisis. The relationship between China and America has also been strained due to severe human rights crises in China. In the Xinjiang region, the Chinese government has incarcerated numerous Uyghur Muslims in internment camps, where they are subjected to forced labor, sterilization, and other forms of abuse. This has been labeled a genocide by the United States and various human rights groups, prompting the US government to impose sanctions on Chinese officials and firms involved in the detention camps. In Hong Kong, China's crackdown on democracy protest has made it challenging for citizens to express themselves or assemble peacefully. The Chinese government has passed laws limiting free speech. prompting the US to take action and punish Chinese officials. The US has stressed the importance of Hong Kong's autonomy, threatening further repercussions if China does not respect this. The US sees China's actions as a threat to human rights and global stability, while China perceives the US involvement as an attempt to interfere with its internal affairs. This mutual distrust and competition have created a complex and often contentious relationship between the two countries. Military activities. Military activities have emerged as a primary source of conflict between China and the US. China's aggressive pursuit of its territorial claims in the South China Sea through the construction of artificial islands and militarization of the area has led to significant tension. In response, the US has conducted freedom of navigation operations in the region, challenging China's actions and asserting its own interest. Taiwan is another significant point of contention, with the US selling weapons to support the island's democracy, much to China's frustration. The issue of cybersecurity has also been a source of conflict, with the US accusing China of engaging in cyber espionage and stealing sensitive information from American companies and government agencies. Furthermore, the US and China have different approaches to North Korea, with China being North Korea's primary ally and trading partner, while the US seeks to persuade the nation to abandon its nuclear weapons program. These differing approaches have led to disputes between the two superpowers. Both countries have been ramping up their military capabilities, raising concerns about an arms race and potential military conflicts. These ongoing tensions have created a sense of unease and uncertainty about the future of the relationship between China and the US. The origin of the prediction. These are some of the open conflicts between China and the United States. However, there has been some talk of a possible war between these two nations, and this prediction has generated widespread concern. The prediction began with a leaked memo from Gen Mike Minihan, head of Air Mobility Command, who suggested that the US could be at war with China within 2 years. In the memo, Gen Minihan urged his officers to prepare for battle by practicing their marksmanship skills, including firing a clip at a target and aiming for the head. While he hoped he was wrong, his gut feeling suggested otherwise, and this sparked the notion that America predicts war with China in 2025. The question remains whether this prediction is merely a reflection of the ongoing conflicts and disputes between the two nations, or something more ominous, such as a warning or threat. Military buildup. In recent years, both China and the United States have significantly expanded their military capabilities. China has demonstrated a strong commitment to becoming a dominant global superpower, pouring resources into developing advanced weapon systems such as stealth fighter jets, aircraft carriers, and hypersonic missiles. Meanwhile, the US is determined to maintain its position as a global military powerhouse, a role it has held for decades. With one of the world's most technologically advanced and extensive military forces, the US boasts top-of-the-line weapon systems like the F-35 fighter jet, ballistic missile defense systems, and advanced drones. However, this increasing militarization has fueled a growing rivalry between the two nations. The race for military dominance has led to escalating tensions and concerns about a potential arms race and military conflict. As a result, the future of the relationship between China and the US remains uncertain. The military buildup is not limited to China and the United States, as other countries in the region are also increasing their military capabilities, leading to a regional arms race. Moreover, there is a growing concern that a potential conflict could escalate into a global war due to the involvement of other countries with strategic interest in the region, such as Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. The consequences of such a war would be catastrophic, with far-reaching economic, political, and humanitarian implications that could destabilize the entire world. The conflict between China and America goes beyond just armed combat. It also involves financial sanctions and costs that can affect the financial stability and livelihoods of ordinary people beyond the battlefield. China is a major importer in Asia, meaning that not only China, but also the entire region will be affected. The impact of war extends into the future, as resources that could have been used for education, infrastructure, and development projects are spent on military operations. This will affect the progress of both nations in the long run. Moreover, it's crucial to consider the human cost of the conflict. Every penny spent on the war represents lost lives, destroyed homes, and affected families. It's not just about the immediate casualties, but also the long-term effects on people's physical and mental health, as well as the trauma that will be passed down to future generations.